Thanks to the folks who led the way. Thanks to the folks, let us thank them every day.
The theme for this week's show is honoring the black servicemen and servicewomen who have served in the armed forces, and many of them have sacrificed their lives to defend this country and the freedoms that it prevails its citizens, some more than others, which kind of makes it pretty amazing that so many black servicemen and women were willing to fight for a country that didn't always give them the civil rights that white citizens had in the United States. I give them a lot of credit. We can go all the way back to the Revolutionary War, and there were 9,000 black soldiers that served in the American Revolution. There were also African Americans that served with the British forces, because the British, especially when the war started going bad for them, started to promise the freedom to the slaves if they would serve with them. I don't know if they could really trust them that they would keep their word, but some did serve with the British, but the majority, I think, served with the American Revolution and contributed to that. Unfortunately, much of the history of the African Americans in the 1700s was tied into slavery. Between the time of the Revolutionary War and the Civil War, many slaves tried to escape to the North. It wasn't always easy, because sometimes the North that collaborated with the South and really worked towards preventing slaves from getting to the North. Certainly they were a critical part of the Civil War and probably contributed greatly to the turning around of that war, making sure that the North won and that the Union survived. There was 186,000 African Americans that served in the Civil War. 40,000 of them died as a result of fighting in that war. They paid a big price. Initially, it looked like it might pay off after the Civil War with getting certain rights. They did get the right to vote after the war, but it wasn't too long after the war that the Jim Crow laws became the pattern in the South to prevent them from voting, and it still goes on to this day. World War I, there was like 370,000 black service people that served in that war. I've been kind of going through the different wars and recognizing all the African American soldiers who have served, and I was kind of up to World War II, and one of the important things that happened after World War II was the armed forces were desegregated by Harry Truman. It's kind of amazing it took that long, but as the soldiers realized after all these years of serving that they didn't have the same civil rights as the white soldiers received when they returned home. So there was kind of a stirring up here, understandably, of folks that have served, risked their lives, and still weren't receiving the same civil rights as other citizens. This movement would develop, and later in the 1960s it would come to a head and really force some changes that were necessary. I certainly don't want to forget anyone that served in the Korean War. There were over 3,000 African American soldiers that died in Korea. But because time's running out, I'm going to move right up to the Vietnam War. And that's a war that more than 7,200 African American soldiers were killed there. One more thank you for all the African American servicemen and servicewomen. I know sometimes it may have been a tough decision whether to go into the service or not, but there are many people that really appreciate what you've done.
Where have all the graveyards gone? Long time passing. Where have all the graveyards gone? Long time ago. Where have all the graveyards gone? Gone to flowers, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the flowers gone?